Yeah, it's okay.
I've known them for a few years now. Mainly, I've been a fan of theirs because they had this long-running podcast called the John Clayton Podcast.
Very nice name.
Devoted listener of. And now they're here and they're going to moderate the panel. I don't know what we're going to talk about.
Thank you for that great introduction.
Yes. We're mostly going to talk about me and John.
That's
going to ask me the question she has.
So this is Fiona Staples. Everyone knows Fiona. Fiona is an amazing, talented artist. We were very honored when she asked us to moderate her panel.
Yes.
We hope it's very enlightening for everyone. But we're going to go ahead and get all of the questions that we think people will ask out of the way really, really, really fast. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, you go first.
Okay. How'd you break in?
Well, it's a long answer.
Okay, so what's your favorite thing to draw? Do you like working on Saga?
Yes.
How's Brian came on to work with?
It's pretty awesome.
Okay, now we're done.
Now we can talk about fun stuff.
No, but seriously, you're pretty far into Saga, correct? Everyone's reading Saga, right? For sure. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're pretty far in. We're well into our third arc now, which will come out starting in August.
And how does it end?
No one knows.
Do you
Maybe
know?
Brian knows. I certainly am not going to ask. I'll fill his notes.
What's up?
You have an entire notepad.
Oh, this is my
Or is that your poetry?
Yeah, it's my poetry. I was going to do a poem afterwards about my experience here. So John's more high tech.
Yeah, he's nuts. I have a lot of questions. Obviously, I have a lot of questions. What's Brian Capon's phone number?
I don't have it memorized or anything.
Will he read my script?
What's it about?
This panel. I'm writing it right now.
I'm taking notes for it.
No, we can talk a little bit about your history a little, because you've been working in the industry for a few years now. And for people that don't know, what are some of the books that you worked on before Saga?
Well, I started working on comics in about 2007. It was when my first series came out. It was called Done to Death, and it was like a satire of the vampire genre. This is pre-Twilight, so it was mostly just making fun of Anne Rice in a friendly way. I've never read Anne Rice, but it's probably pretty good. And then after that, I did a horror comic called Trick or Treat, which is like an adaptation of the movie. And then I did a bunch of Wildstorm work, like an Authority spin-off called Jack Hawksmoor, like his origins. What else? I did another horror series called North 40 with writer Aaron Williams, which is sort of like a Lovecraftian horror set in Missouri.
Where Lovecraftian horror should occur.
Lots of cool monsters and junkyard robots and things like that.
So what drew you to horror? Because was a lot of horror, you know?
Yeah, it just sort of happened incidentally. Like when writer Andrew Foley, who wrote Done to Death, sent me the pitch for that. I just liked it as a story. It just happened to be horror. And I just kept getting more horror work. So I don't know, I never even used to watch horror movies because I frighten really easily. But
And now you're hardcore and nothing can scare you.
no, I didn't actually get less scared of horror movies. I'm just like used to the feeling of being really terrified.
So fear is your new normal.
Yeah.
So you're terrified right now.
So that's why you asked us
Basically
to.
the terrorist.
That's why you asked us to moderate your panel. 'Cause it's terrifying.
But I learned to love it.
Nice.
So you started out doing a lot of covers, right? Like you're known for covers a lot.
Yeah, I've done a lot of covers throughout because I didn't always have a series to work on because I did a lot of minis, just a bunch of 6-issue series before I started Saga, and in between I would just do various covers, fill-ins.
You did one of my favorite covers that you did was the one for Josie and the Pussycats.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, where you did them more realistically, I guess. But you were into Archie comics when you were a kid. Like, what were your first
like
couple
forever.
comics?
Well, Archie was probably my first comics, and like Tintin and my friends can do comics. Those were the only comics that I read as a child. So yeah, I've always loved Archie, and it was super fun to get to do Josie and the Pussycats in their like future storyline, which is 20 years later. So now they're like an adult rock band.
Yeah. And they were influenced by like the Kills and bands like that, like the way you drew them, right? So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that was really cool.
Yes, I do. So what always fascinated me about your work specifically is, you know, we live in the future now, obviously, and a lot of people don't work just traditionally.
We live in the future?
We live in the future.
We live in the present.
Well, we live kind of futuristic. We have computers and the internet and stuff. That's kind of futuristic. So you don't work, quote unquote, traditionally.
No, my work is all digital, and it has been for, I don't know, almost since I first started out. Like, Trick or Treat was the last comic that I actually inked by hand on paper, and that was in 2007, I think. So, yeah, that was when I started getting more work from Wildstorm, and the only way I could keep up was to go digital and start using a Cintiq for all my artwork.
So that was the main reason that you sort of chose is speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the main reason.
Do you ever go back and just, you know, do sketch typically, traditionally, do you do sketches and cons, and so you still,
Yeah, I keep a ton of sketchbooks, and I just do like pencil or pen or marker drawings for fun.
Do you ever think you'll do a traditional comic? It's entirely traditional.
If I somehow got to do a comic that had no deadline, I would consider. I'm basically just way faster this way because if you've never seen a Cintiq, it's like a tablet monitor, so you just draw directly on the screen, and it's sped up my process a lot because instead of doing full pencils and then inking over them, I can basically just do really loose layouts and then go straight to inks and just correct as I go along rather than drawing everything twice.
And so for Saga, the backgrounds are painted, they're painterly, right? So that was something that you did on purpose, like you wanted that look, correct?
Yeah, like I've always wanted to do a fully painted comic, but I can't quite get it to work. Like I've seen other artists pull it off, but whenever I try to do everything in a painted style, it ends up looking really static or really muddy and like kind of hard to read. And for Saga, the characterization was really important, so I wanted the characters and foreground elements to be like crystal clear. So I decided to just ink those and then go for a more atmospheric painted style in the backgrounds, kind of like in cell animation.
Well, tone and character design are some of the things that are the most interesting parts of Saga in a lot of ways. Like the detail is super intense. Now, how much does Brian sort of influence that, and how much does he say it's just a monster, and you have to kind of create what it actually does? Well, I mean, I know sometimes the scripts
it's more descriptive, or it's
right. It's just like a monster here, yeah.
It kind of depends on the character. Like for someone like the Stock, he had a really clear idea of what she should look like. He described her as like this pale white half spider woman with no arms, like the Venus de Milo, and like a long black skirt. So I basically knew exactly what to do for her right away. But for our main characters, for Marco and Alana, he actually gave me the least amount of guidance. He just said it should be sort of young, attractive, and Marco has ram horns, and Alana has sort of little insect wings. That's it.
And how many rounds did you go through with character designs? And he was like, okay, well, this is good. And then were there a lot of edits, or basically when you did it, it was like done?
There was some back and forth initially. When we were just at the concept design stage, I would send a bunch of character art from Marco and Alana until we got them nailed down. And then for everyone else, then we just started moving on the book. I had to keep up our pace, so I just done a lot of stuff just as I go. Brian doesn't really ask for character models or anything like that beforehand.
So I know most artists in Euclid do a lot of photo reference kind of stuff, and a lot of times you would take pictures of yourself, right? Where are those pictures go? Because I was wondering, because I know a lot of artists take all these pictures. Do you have it on a file on your computer, or do you hide them?
Luckily, we have them all here.
Yeah, what were you thinking when you made this face?
I definitely take a lot of photo reference of myself for all the characters. So, I act out the Will, I act out giant naked ogre. That's what it was.
Ogres do that.
That was giant naked ogre. That's not you.
So you also channel it, like you're saying.
I get in character, and then take photos with my laptop and practice those when I'm drawing, and then delete them.
So I have a question, and without getting too personal, because I was going to get personal. What's kind of like a day for you? Because I know you work from home usually, right? So what do you do? What's kind of because I think a lot of people don't know what a comic book artist does. Because a lot of people in their mind, I know me when I was a kid, Marvel, it was like the thing about the bullpen. And, you know, the Marvel bullpen were like, I just had this, imagination of all these people all in a room with tables and drawing. That's not how it is. You're, like, isolated a lot.
Yeah, completely alone.
So, yeah, not to depress anybody.
So you wake up and then...
Yeah, so you wake up and get out of bed.
Yeah, I get, like, a wake-up call from my boyfriend at about 8 o'clock. Because I tend to just, like, it's news and the alarm. But...
You're a real person, just like everyone else.
But I'm too polite to hang up the phone with someone. So he'll phone me to make sure I'm getting up.
Yeah.
And then I'll, like, I don't know, do Twitter, Instagram and stuff, like eat breakfast, and then, like, try to get some inking done before lunch, then maybe, like, work out, and then color after lunch. On an ideal day, I'll be finished before, like, 6 or 7. But it doesn't usually go that way.
Yeah.
And then what do you do to relax?
I don't know, I draw other stuff.
So you draw it.
Yeah, I draw, like, fun stuff. Not that Saga's not fun, but it's also work. So, I draw stuff that doesn't have to be good or fun. And I play video games. Yeah.
What video games do you play? Everyone wants to know that.
I'm in the middle of Skyward Sword right now. I'm, like, at least a year or two behind on.
What's your favorite game of all time?
Final Fantasy 12.
Obviously.
I'm sorry, I'm just seeing there's a water puddle right by your mic. And I'm like terrified that we're going to kill Fiona Staples. That's what we're going to be known as. So this is
On my own hand.
yeah.
It's your own ogre hand.
Now, these are some poems that I'm not so keen on that I'm using to like this out.
It's so embarrassing.
No, it's okay. It's alright.
I'm like a child. I want you to
It's a little embarrassing.
You just get phone wake-up calls and people that's okay. Okay, now we're
We're
going
gonna draw pictures for them
Yeah.
and color them, which is good.
So you had a webcomic with your brother there for a while, right?
Yeah, it was called Teens in Love in Space, and it was like our homage to Archie,
Yeah.
but in the future. So kind of like Archie 3000.
So John, it would be right now.
Alright,
Because he thinks the future is right now.
And I'm still working on that whenever I had time, but we're not ready to start uploading these strips yet.
Okay.
How many did you guys put up?
Oh, I don't know, not very many. Probably like 8. It's a pathetic effort.
So going back to Archie, when did they come to you to do covers, or was it one of those things where through another person you're like, I really like to do Archie?
Yeah, they came to me because the guy that I knew from DC moved to Archie. You know, brought on a lot of outside artists to Archie has.
So so when you're drawing, do you listen to like a lot of music? Are you influenced by music a lot? And
Yeah, well, I used to listen to the John Clayton podcast.
yeah, that's true.
Sorry, we ended it.
And you used to listen to other podcasts too, and or just ours. Just say just ours.
Mostly yours.
And
It's like history podcasts. If I am sick of all my music, because that happens sometimes. I just like hate everything in my eyes.
So how do you get the motivation? Because I know it's hard because you are there by yourself in your apartment. Like, how do you get that motivation other than just a deadline? Because sometimes it's easy to just like kind of slack off and be like, well, maybe I can go to the park. Or
Maybe I can play some more podcasts as well.
Yeah, or go to a hockey game because you're Canadian, so that's sort of it's mandatory that you have to go to at least 2 hockey games a week.
It is a lot. It's Canadian.
Yeah.
Well, I just schedule those in and like try to work around it.
Yeah. I hope they don't go into overtime. Yeah.
No, just like the terror of having Saga come out late is generally enough to keep me on task.
Yeah.
You'll get all that internet wrath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, I know we were going to ask these questions because we wanted to not ask you regular questions, but I feel like we are indebted to the people here to ask questions like influences, like artists or like books that really made you want to get into it.
I like a lot of like 20th century illustrators like N.C. Wyatt and Howard Pyle, who did a lot of like painted book illustrations, pirates and stuff like that. And I've liked a lot of the 70s comics, like Savage Sword of Conan and The Old Red Sonja and Vampirella comics. I thought were really cool. So those are a big influence on me when I first started drawing comics. For Saga specifically, though, I'm really influenced by anime, or not anime, but animation in general. And a particular anime called Tekken Creed, which was like an adaptation of the comic Black and White.
Do you pull from other than just sort of comics and stuff? Do you pull any other and then animation? Is there anything else that you do to sort of recharge your? You know, sometimes when you're an artist, I feel like even just regular jobs, like you get really depleted on just like reading the same things that you kind of work on and like looking at the same kind of medium. Is there anything else that you kind of use to recharge and sort of be like, okay, well I have to go see like a symphony or I have to go do something else that sort of also recharges that kind of creative energy?
Yeah, I think any of the arts, anything that kind of like enriches your life will help you creatively. So yeah, listening to music and even like video games inspire me a lot when I see like an amazing environment that they've done or like really cool character designs. Or movies.
So look for a link in like 4 months somewhere stuck in there.
I don't know. I'm afraid that everything I draw will look too much like Final Fantasy XII because I love it so much. I just play it over and over again.
So that's why we're late on missions sometimes. Just going back to PlayStation.
Well, video games are amazing because they are all about world building, and you spend so much time in that environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where like, a movie is 2 hours, but TV shows or like video games, you kind of get immersed in these worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I know there's like a lot of world building that goes on with Saga. Like, is that like an influence? Like,
yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I think some of the best artists working today are working in video games, and we never see their work. We just see like the final product, but we don't. They don't always make their sketches and concept art public. But I love, looking at that stuff.
Do you find that challenging? Sort of like, so you build this giant world, and you established a lot of things, and you would have to come back and reference them. Do you find that difficult to sort of keep on that detail and keep on that sort of tonal and environmental sort of path?
I was sort of worried about that initially when I first started doing Saga, because I'd never done an ongoing series before. So I was like, oh my god, whatever I design now, I'm going to be locked into it for the next like 5 years, and I'll never get to change my design, so this better be good.
You better like it,
It's amazing. But it was too stressful, so I just didn't worry about it too much. And I'm like, well, I'll find a way to change it if I really hate it later on.
Or you're like panicking, like running through old issues, like, when do I do that? Oh, that's what I did. That makes sense.
Or, they'll probably change their clothes at some point.
Hopefully.
Yeah, great.
so did you worked at a comic book store in college, right? I did research.
Wow.
I
research on your podcast.
That's what I
know.
know. But so were you into comics at the time then, or is that what got you into it?
I got into them in high school, and then I started working part-time in a comic store when I was in college, like you said. And that's when I really started reading a ton of different stuff. Because in high school I was just into, I think it was like Top Cow comics that initially grabbed me.
Oh yeah.
Like the late 90s Top Cow output, which was like Aphrodite 9 and like Fathom.
Like all the bad, you were like super into bad girl stuff.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I thought it was like so cool. Like, and she's really sexy, and she's also got a massive gun. So
So you were like a 14-year-old boy.
And like that was the kind of comics that I wanted to do in high school. But then,
Yeah, when I researched you, one of your favorite was Adrenaline.
yeah, she's like a goth robot.
Yeah, Goth Robot. Spelled Adrenalynn.
Because it's like a name.
That's her name style. Yeah.
She had these gigantic like goth boots.
Yeah.
And like blue lipstick.
Do you own a pair of those same goth boots?
No, I was never really goth actually.
What did you
I
want to be?
appreciated their culture.
What did you want to be when you grew up? Like when you were a kid, like did you have like, I want to be a ballerina, or I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be whatever?
Well, I wanted to be an artist, but I didn't really know what that entails. When you're a kid and you imagine being an artist, you picture yourself like standing in front of an easel, like wearing a beret. So that's what I thought I would do.
That's not how it is. I'll throw away all my berets.
So you thought you would be some kind of artist?
Yeah.
You always
And
did.
then as I got older, I sort of like narrowed it down until I decided I'll be an artist.
Did you go to art school?
I did, yeah. I went to the Alberta College of Art and Design in Calgary, where they have like an illustration major, and you can specialize in stuff like comics and narrative illustration. They teach you stuff like storyboarding and picture books and comics.
So did you have kind of like an art school existence, like how everybody imagines it? Like, I mean, was it really bohemian, or was that?
I don't know, kind of at the same time it was in Calgary. So
Yeah.
very conservative culture.
Yeah. It's gotta be bohemian when you have like a big puffy jacket on at all times.
And like coffee night today.
Yeah, exactly. All the time games you have to say. No. I'm done. That's all you got.
Yeah.
Hey, we get something?
No, do we have questions?
We can open it up to
Yeah, we can. Yeah, that's awesome. Yes.
Sir in the front right there.
You talked about a character like the Stock and Saga. Just more of the creators out there. Are there any other characters that are like your baby that you kind of created?
I don't know. I see them both as like a joint effort, I suppose. Like sometimes Brian gives me a little bit more to go on, like with the stock, and sometimes nothing. But I don't know. At the same time, like he's the one who thinks up these characters, and I'm the one who finalizes them. So it's really like I don't know, both of our babies. But that's sounding gross.
I said this like 1-year-old dressed like Link, and I was like, I want to steal it. I want to steal it. Yeah, it probably would. I had a panel to go to. I was like, I'm not going to be there. I'll take care of a baby.
Take a baby.
Just stay here. No, yes, it's fine. You live with me now. This is what I do. Question? Yes, sir.
Yeah, you said that normally you'll wake up, do some inking, and then hopefully be coloring towards the end of the day. I was wondering, on average, what's the normal time period it takes you to do a full page, start to finish?
It varies a lot, but I guess that I average a page a day-ish. Yeah, but I'll sometimes just have inking days and then just have coloring days.
Do you sometimes work on pages intermittently, like maybe you'll ink 2 in a day and color them later, or do you always like...
Yeah, I definitely do that. Like ink a batch and then color them later. Sorry, what's that?
So it just depends.
Yeah. I try to stay flexible.
Now, do you have to like take your work with you sometimes if you're behind, like on a deadline? You like show up at a christening, and you're like, I just got to be on it.
Christening in my life. I said it wasn't as portable as I'd like it to be.
Yeah.
But I just got like a little tablet that I'm trying to be able to draw on.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of the process? Like, do you have a specific part that you love more than anything else about making comics?
I kind of like thumbnailing because I can do that side of the house. Like that's the only part that I do on paper is my initial thumbnails. So I just like take the script and my paper.
Well, that's good for the hockey games. You can just figure out fly hockey games.
Try not to get blown.
Questions? Yes, sir, right there.
How exactly was the giant naked ogre monster described to you by Brian?
You can actually read the excerpt of the script in, I think, another issue. I don't remember which one. But if you have the singles, you can look in the letter column and see exactly what Brian wrote. It's pretty awful.
Sorry.
So, 2-part thing real quick. The first part being, he said, I read in the back of the issue, you know, kind of the challenge to see if there's anything you cannot draw. Has he found it yet?
No, I've never refused to draw anything that he's written.
Okay,
Well, maybe
so
I
still
should.
working on that. And then I guess the second part would be, so from, I guess I'm kind of obsessed with Saga these days, but of those, all the characters and everything, what would you be like your personal favorite that you really have the input on, that you kind of tailored in to your specifications, that you know, just that one that stands out to you that you really like doing?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I have the most input on Mark and Aladdin themselves, but the one guy that I really like drawing is Special Agent Gale, who's that like really mean guy that works for Landfall. He's just like a super sarcastic douchebag, and like body language is really fun to do.
Can you do a little of them here?
Yeah,
just a little.
Like,
Okay, sir, back there.
Yeah, I just, there's another design question. Where did the design for Tripp's robot come from? And do you know what the head actually is?
it's a TV set. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything inside it, like a real head inside the TV. Maybe.
And will we ever find out? Do you know, and will we ever find out?
I can't say if we'll ever find out because I don't know. But I don't know.
So
all I know
where did
is
the
like
design
what
come
drawn. So.
Was that your design, or was that?
Well, he told me what to draw. He said they're like dressed in these old-fashioned uniforms and they have TV heads. So, yeah, that's what I drew.
Young lady back there with glasses.
Is there like a specific book or character that would be like your dream to draw someday, or I guess that's kind of an expansion of that? Is there like a novel or maybe not even necessarily doing comics, but like another art project that would be your dream to work on at some point?
No, I've already done like a lot of my favorite characters, namely Archie and Red Sonja recently, that I've always wanted to draw. I'd like to do a picture book someday, I guess, like a children's book. I think that would be really cool.
So Clayton, you'll have your son will have something to read.
Can you do something that's good for my son? Yes, sir, right there.
Still earlier, maybe you could speak to issue 12, Prince Robot, particular scenes appearing on his screen, that issue that folks have spoken about.
Did you have a question about that?
Can you speak to the symbolism maybe of those images or anything going on there? Reveal anything to us?
I don't know what Brian's idea for the scene was, but for me, I just wanted it to be like a really explicit contrast to the extreme violence going on around Prince Robot to show the trauma that he was going through, basically.
So you were talking about your influences earlier, kind of talking about like Pile and things like that. How exactly did that inspire you to become a comic book? Like, was that right away, or was that kind of like you just really enjoyed that and then kind of was like, oh wait, I'm an artist, I should do the same thing? Like,
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if those illustrators really inspired me to do comics. Like, I already kind of wanted to do comics. I think they just sort of made me a more well-rounded artist by like studying their painting methods and stuff.
Yeah.
When you were designing the character for the stock, how did you figure out how to merge the human and arachnid qualities of that?
You actually did it in a lab, right?
Yeah, first I constructed a real house spider woman, and then I used her for that. I just kind of like stuck it on.
Yeah, the technical process of a comic book artist.
Right here in the front.
So I know like Saga in itself is really kind of out there and strange, but is there anything like that stands out as far as in Brian's scripts that you read and you were just like, what?
I don't know, maybe I don't want to give out any spoilers, but the giant space fetus.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Richard, way back there.
What you said you draw on the computer? What program do you use when you're drawing it?
I do my inking in Manga Studio, and then I color everything in Photoshop, and I do my covers and other painted stuff in Photoshop.
Way in the back.
Hey, sorry if you covered this already. I came in kind of late, but like.
What's your excuse? Why? Where would you want better to be?
What's that? Sorry.
Where would you better to be?
When you draw people, like example, that they introduce the grandparents, like age 3 or 4, do you ever model those after real people in your life? Like, are those kind of your grandparents, maybe? Or just other random characters, even like background characters? Do you ever draw people that kind of your real life?
I don't think I've ever used anyone I know. Sometimes I'll use like an actor or a model as just a starting point, but then I still try to make sure it doesn't end up looking too much like them, because that's weird and distracting.
Who's somebody that you've used that you're like, oh, this is like way too close to like a counselor or something like that? Zach Morris.
I don't really see it myself. Are there any characters that remind you of actors?
That you drawn?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean,
Have you noticed any?
Not really. I mean, I think your stuff is just really kind of unique. Like, there's people that work that you can definitely tell they're like, okay, they're just looking at it for it's a great catalog, but not in a way that I think is really like, oh, this is because the Ultimates and stuff. I mean, that's how Nick Fury. That's how Samuel Jackson got Nick Fury, is because they drew him looking just like Nick Fury. And he must have been like, oh, this is great. As soon as that stuff went on, he was like, I'm going to be in every single movie.
Right? It's a very Hollywood book, though.
Yeah, it was.
It's just that style of book, but I don't know. It's like a fantasy, and I don't.
You don't want that kind of connection. You don't want to be like, oh, this guy's going to be perfect for this, part of this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not about that.
And it's more fun for people to have their own, dream castings.
Yes.
Who's your dream cast?
Someone asked me this on Twitter the other day, and I'm not the person to ask because I have terrible ideas. I would probably cast some K-pop stars, Mario, and some model for Alana that can't act at all.
So right there.
When you go to Comic Cons like this and you see people in
cosplay. How do you feel when they're your characters?
Oh, it's amazing. It's like the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Would you ever come to a con cosplaying as one of your characters?
No, that's not really done, is it?
You can be the first one. That's what I'm saying. Do it. No one will know it's you.
Great. No one will know.
Well, it's your character, no one knows you.
Because no one would expect somebody to do that. Yes, sorry, right there.
I don't know if it's been talked about. I don't read every letter column, but with the hiatuses that you're taking, what are you like? How do you use that to? Because you're not working the whole time, like, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. So you're using that actually just to catch up.
Yeah, I get as far ahead on Saga as I can before the books start coming out,
Okay.
and then they start coming out, and I slowly get more and more behind, and then we need to take another break. So yeah, it's not that
is that mostly you're self-imposing it and going like, Brian, I can't do this. I know
and
he's
I
falling
and
right
Eric
now.
Stevenson all agreed that it was the best thing to do because we didn't really want to get fill-in artists.
Right, no, and I'm not complaining. I actually, how much more books would do that? I know the big companies can't really do that anymore.
Yeah.
They have, monthly quotas and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so
But that's what I
rotate.
like about this book is like, I get to the end of the 6th book and I'm like, a hiatus. Because I get to catch up on my other books too, so it's really cool. But I wasn't sure if it was, I wasn't sure if you were just like, oh, we're going on vacation. Get some Hollywood stuff.
It's spring break. Oh, here I go.
Yeah, I know the breaks are kind of a pain, but we figured it was better to have scheduled breaks than just like suddenly be late and not have an issue commitment supposed to.
The books don't suffer, I think that's important.
Well, how much do you like read reviews and stuff on Twitter? Do you like pay a lot of attention to that, or do you kind of try to block it all out?
I don't really read them too much. Sometimes if they're sent directly to me, or there's some points that to me, I'll read it. But
That's not like in between Twitter and Instagram, read all my reviews, then do this, and this. You don't like do that thing.
Do the
Like read all, like just constantly just like Google yourself and be like, oh, what do people talk about?
I used to have like Google alerts set up to alert me whenever I was mentioned. And it would send me like this list of websites that were talking about me. But I don't do that anymore because I don't know.
Screws you up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't really want to think about what people are saying about it.
See, that's all I think about.
Yeah.
Sorry, there.
When's the movie?
Maybe one day. Sorry, what?
Is Abrams directing?
I don't know.
You should
Have we
animate.
given him enough?
Yeah.
You're very excited about this.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Question? Yes, sir, right there.
Yeah, do you ever have desire to do writing and write your own comics?
A little bit. I'm not a very good writer though, so like it's something I'm still working on. But maybe once I've gotten better at it, I'll start writing my own material. I don't know.
What have you written? So, like, have you tried to write stuff yourself?
Well, my brother and I were like co-writing a webcomic, Teens Alone in Space, and
It's a lot of plugs for that webcomic.
That's webcomic that you can't read. So like, it'll be fun too.
When's that movie?
That
movie? Yes. It's excited about everything. It's good.
Yeah, I would like to write eventually.
So, yes.
I know you're doing the Red Sonja cover, and obviously working on Saga. I was wondering if you have anything else coming out in the mix.
I'm doing some more arch covers, and I'm doing I don't know, I probably can't say, I think it's going to be a surprise, but I am doing some more covers for other certain image books. So look out for those.
Anything else with Red Sonja, or just the first issue?
We'll see. They invited me to do more Red Sonja stuff, but it's really hard to find the time to do anything other than Saga.
You just did the Betty and Veronica's Mermaids.
I did, yeah.
That's really cool.
It's
So
so
you guys
fun.
seen that one? Yeah, that's really good. You'd be very excited about that.
If you did more Red Sonja with Gail Simone, I might die.
She'll die.
I'm looking forward to just reading it. Like I read Gail's pitch, like her outline for Red Sonja, and her ideas are amazing. Like it's kind of what I've always wanted the character to be. It's gonna be super badass.
Sorry, writer writing campaign right now. Okay, so
yeah,
you good?
question. Yeah. Just real quickly, was there ever any talk about doing more of North 40? Because it kind of ends like sort of ambiguously. So I was just kind of curious if there was ever talk of doing more of that, if that was just like a one shot.
Well, Aaron Williams, the writer, had ideas for a sequel, but I don't know if the sales were there. Also, we don't own the book. It was owned by Wildstorm in DC, so it's out of our hands anyway. I know it looks like a creator-owned book, but it's not. Yeah, tragically, there's been a Wildstorm, so it's not likely.
Yes.
I don't remember in your list of things you said you worked on, but the first thing I read that you had involved in was Mystery Society, and that seems like a little bit of an outlier. Like a lot of your earlier stuff that you were saying was like horror. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that book and how you came to be involved with that. And
basically, I just really wanted to work with Steve Islands because I've always enjoyed his horror books. So then he wanted to collaborate on something. I expected it to be another horror book, but he actually had this totally different idea for an action adventure series that he had co-created with Ashley Wood. So I was brought on as the third co-creator, and we did a mini-series, which was super fun to do.
Has there ever been talk more of that one?
They've come out with an annual with another artist.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't work on that. So I don't know. There might be more in the future.
Sorry,
So, just out of curiosity, what have you been reading for recent titles that have been coming out?
Oh, I've been reading Bedlam. I think that's a really good series. I've been following The Goon and Hellboy forever. I haven't been to the store in a long time, so I'm kind of behind.
So I have a quick question because I've done a couple panels, and I did the quick draw earlier on Friday. And with the quick draw, we have questions that we ask the artists, and they will draw. So one of the questions I asked them was, "What's the weirdest thing that anybody had to draw at a con?" And Greg Guler, who's an animation guy, he works on Phineas and Ferb, and he did Gargoyles. He had a 10-year-old come up to him and ask him to draw Batman shooting Hitler in the head. And I said, did you do it? And he said, yes. When a 10-year-old comes up to you and asks you to draw Batman shooting Hitler in the head, you do it. Whatever this kid asked you to do. So I did a panel, and just before you, and Peter Bagg said that there was a guy who had his sketchbook of superheroes throwing up. That was his thing. And so he drew Spider-Man throwing up his mask. So, I know, right? That's just an image that we all can see. But, so I'm going to ask that question to you.
There's a guy who goes around to cons asking for a RoboCop on a unicorn. So I actually got it. But the weirdest one was probably a guy who asked me to draw him beating up his sister.
Was his sister there for a reference?
Yeah. January there.
Did they pose for you? Was it
Yeah, I think I made them hold the pose. Just to punish them a little bit.
There was Tom Zuller actually was a guy that did one too, and he drew the comedian from Watchmen giving up, I guess it's called a hoof pound to a My Little Pony. Somebody asked him to do that, and he did. He drew it. Yeah, so you can ask really weird stuff.
Yeah, and it's some really weird people are into My Little Pony.
Yeah.
Normal people too, but also some real weird.
Bronies are called bronies, right? Yeah. And that's a hoof pound. So when you I was gonna say something that kids couldn't hear. But when you pound a horse, that's called a hoof.
Does that happen a lot? Is that a famous term for it? Are people going to petting zoos and going, "Hey, horse"?
Yes. What's up? Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes.
The Lion Cat Saga that has a lot of really interesting details to it. I was wondering if you drawing any particular animal or anything like that.
I was thinking at kind of Chinese lion statues. They're always appearing in armor and lots of jewelry and decoration. It's kind of a lot of Final Fantasy.
It always goes back.
A lot of the monsters, especially in Crisis Core and Book 11 and 12, have animals in armor, and it looks awesome. I
do you have any pets that you put in armor?
No, I don't have any pets, unfortunately.
You don't have any, is that by choice, or can you not?
I can't have pets in my apartment.
Sad.
I know.
Even Canada is kind of like America.
Yeah.
There's a squirrel in the alley that I sometimes feed.
So you should coerce the squirrel to you and put a little breastplate on and like leg armor and stuff.
It's like me and my kid. Right now.
The questions.
Anybody else?
This is devolving very fast.
Yes. I want to devolve it further. Ryan would let you dress up his cat in armor for reference purposes.
Does Ryan have a cat?
You said hamburger in the back.
He has a dog suit called
That's a dog? And I thought it was a cat? Wow, I must have been drunk.
The dog is like clearly a wiener dog. Yeah, he judges our contests and picks the letter of the month.
The dog.
Yeah, the dog.
So it's scientific.
Very scientific.
Yes.
Yes. Like the androids in Saga, the pictures that show up on their face. Does he just like put a stressful situation on there? Just like the art that show up on there?
Oh, he always specifies what to draw if there's an image on the face. Yeah. Sometimes it's like triggered by their emotions, and sometimes it's just like an incoming phone call or something. Yeah, these are different purposes.
Or like he tells you, told you like to draw like the bloody horn.
Yeah. It's in the script.
So are you still into Spartacus?
Yeah, I don't care if it's over. I'll always be into Spartacus.
Yeah.
It's my favorite show of all time.
Yeah, Stars is based here in Denver, so you should go up.
It is?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, they don't film it here though.
No.
I could just go shake their hand.
You just shake the executive's hands, like, thank you for greenlighting the show.
People don't know how good it is though. They think it's just like sex and gore.
Isn't it? That's what it is.
Yeah. But like there's just enough of a plot there to make
Sex and violence
the
scenes, yeah.
sex and the gore so much more interesting.
I see that CG box. It's just enough of a plot.
I mean, it's actually a really good plot.
Yeah.
Like, there's lots of like scheming and conniving Roman nobles and you know, merchants, and then there's the whole war and stuff.
So you really like the sword and sorcery kind of stuff, like Red Sonja and things like that. And you were into fantasy as a kid, right? Like fantasy books and stuff. Like, well, Redwall. I know.
How do you do that?
Yes, I did. I researched.
Creepy research.
But no. So did you read all the Redwall books? Because there's like.
I know there's more than I
Yeah.
thought there were. I read all the ones that were available when I was little.
Yeah. Because they kept. I think there's. Does anybody know about Redwall? Yeah.
There's
Does
stories
anybody know
of
the
like
books?
medieval mice and little creatures.
Yeah, it's like medieval
Brian
mice.
Yeah, Brian Jakes.
Yeah. Yeah, and love Narnia and stuff like that. You really into fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get older when you became a 15-year-old boy.
And start reading
movies with guys.
entirely.
No, would you ever do a book like that? Would you ever just do like a throwback 90s type book? Just like even a one-off where it's like.
Maybe. I feel like it's something that's parodied a lot though.
Yeah.
So.
What if you did it loving, right?
Like tradition, like, yeah, you just hate a lot of
Oh, in that case, I'd be.
Yeah.
Like, I really love how they relaunched Glory and Prophet at Image. Like, how they totally rebooted those. Or once, like, fairly cheesy, typical 90s books and made them into, like, really cool, original sci-fi.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys haven't read those books, they're really amazing. But I think actually Glory kind of ended, right?
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
Prophet's still going.
Yes.
All right, we have time for a couple more questions.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's not a very original question, but there's
And don't stop.
Yeah, all right. Next question. That's the original question that everyone asks.
There's a lot of talk about how comics is such a like boys' club to be in. Do you find that, or do you think it's easier to be a female artist or writer in an industry that has kind of been dominated by men for a really long time?
I don't think it's too hard to be a female artist or writer. It might be harder to be a female reader. Most of the material out there, whereas just in terms of the big two, like mainstream comics, is definitely boys club-ish, and you know, it's easy to tell when you're not the target demographic of something because they're like, I don't know, you just don't feel like you're well represented. So, as an artist though, everyone I've worked with has been really great. Like I've never felt belittled or harassed or anything because of my gender. Like
until today. I was pretty rude before.
Yeah, my own experience has been pretty good. Can't really complain too much, but the industry as a whole still definitely has its problems.
It's funny because most of the people I know who I'm kind of friends with in the industry are girls. So like I just think that's the majority to me. I'm just like, yeah. You know, so it's really weird when people are like women in comics, but you know, you deal with them. It's like I know like so many women in comics. It's like not even that big of a deal. You know?
Yeah, I think you just have to look outside the superhero genre.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, so one more question. Make it a really good one. Is it really good? All right, go ahead.
I was wondering if maybe you could talk a little bit about what it's like to work in like under the Image Comics banner, like sort of how it's different to work with Image than some of the other comic book companies. Because I know with Image you can have like it's creator owned, so you kind of have a little more control. But
Do you think that's good enough, Clayton?
No.
All right.
I'm calling security right now.
When Brad and I first got together to do Saga, we were considering various different publishers because we wanted to keep our options open, but both of us kind of preferred Image, and then we talked to Eric Stevenson, the Image publisher, quite a bit to see, you know, what exactly they could offer us, and it is definitely, I think, the best deal in town for creator-owned comics. Because when they say creator-owned, they actually mean it. They don't mean, you know, you keep the book's profits, but we'll take a slice of the media rights or anything like that. Like, we actually own it 100%, and all Image takes is their flat fee, which is the same fee that they take off any book. So, you know, like Eric at Image says, they don't make any more money off their high-selling book than they do off their lowest-selling book. They just take, you know, they just cover their costs, and they take, like, their printing fee and so on, and then we own everything else. So.
Is there anything that like you have done like in a script that like you have like sent it in and have them be like held out?
No, never. They'll let us do literally anything we want. It's pretty amazing.
That's fair.
Like we've given Eric Stevenson, I think, like an editor credit in the book. Because he was supposed to act as our editor, but he doesn't really edit us. He sort of keeps us on task and like sends us our schedule and stuff, but he doesn't interfere in the creative process or anything. They're very easygoing.
All right, guys.
Fiona Staples.